Done our dough, chaps. We've done our dough.
Hi, welcome to Odds. My name is Alex. This is a betting podcast where each week we will look at the key matchups for racing and for sport, usually AFL, for the weekend. And we are going to bet with a amount each week, 50 for racing, 20 for sport, and we will track our returns over time. With any betting, it's essential to give yourself an edge. So we are going to target bonus back promotions where we can. Usually the tab will offer something like races 1 to 6, bonus back for second or third. Sportsbet will do something similar. A good one at the moment, Sportsbet will do bonus bet back for your horse runs in a particular nominated race if your horse runs anywhere from second to last. So that's always a good one. Where possible, I like to use the tab just because with the exotics, you've got a few more options. So if you're doing trifectas and you want to do roving banker, you can do it. Some agencies, you can't. With odds themselves, usually I find that tote odds on the tab, like outsiders will drift and people won't notice. Whereas if you're betting an hour before the race on Sportsbet, you'll get, lesser odds on fixed. They'll go out, but often if you've got things on, you have to put your bets on a bit early sometimes and you can lose out. So I like that you can just put it on the tote with the tab and you can, I'd say usually get a better payout. And also you can split bets multiple times. So if you've got a $25 bonus bet on Sportsbet and you split it into $5 bets, that's that. But with the tab, you can split again. So I tend to try and get those, but often Sportsbet will have better promotions and I'll go with them. But yeah, look for edges all the time. But bonus bets back is just an easy one where you can increase your chances of winning. And it's not about being right all the time. It's about being right sometimes and having those be big paydays, significant paydays, or just memorable races where you win, you're happy. And if you have 5 races where you're totally wrong, but one you're totally right, it's a good situation. So each week we're going to bet a set amount. It's going to be 50 for racing across multiple meetings and 20 for sport, usually predominantly AFL because that's what I know about, and things like NBA, no idea. Maybe I'll learn over time. Other sports again, maybe I'll learn over time. If we have special guests who like something in particular, we might vary, but generally it'll be AFL, but the amounts will always stay the same. So 50 for racing, 20 for sport. I always say this up front to anyone who's betting, and that it should just be something, think of it like a meal. Betting should always be like a condiment, a topping, a snack to a meal. It should never be the main course. So it's just something fun to add into your life, but always bet a relatively small amount and always bet money that you'd be happy to lose, because at the end of the day, you want to be able to be like, okay, cool, I had fun, and that was it. But you never want to be remorseful. At the end of the day, it is just entertainment, but one that provides a lot of enjoyment, and hopefully over time we will see some positive returns, but we'll have a lot of fun along the way. So in addition to this weekly pursuit where we look at the form, we're going to do some special episodes where we dive into the history, the psychology, the strategies behind betting, why people bet, what they get out of it, with a particular focus on horse racing, because to me it is the best sport medium to bet on for reasons that we'll get into later on. So here at the moment, up on screen is the card for Flemington. These are the favourites, and I find this is a good starting point just to see, look at each race, and just the first thing you look at the favourite and just look at the form and see if it's a horse you want to back. Because if it's not, if there's some chinks in the armour of the form for the favourite, it's a good starting point to find some outsiders. So here races 1, 3, 7, 8, 9 are races that I do want to have a crack at, where I think the favourites are a bit vulnerable. And in each race, we'll still, where we can, still have a bet, make use of the bonus bet back promotion, but we won't go as hard. So let's kick things off. Race 1 at Flemington, 1,420 metres. I'm not sold on Sneaky Sunrise at 270, being a back marker, where it's going to settle in the run. Wide gates are very tricky at Flemington over the 1,400. It's barrier 9, so it could get a good position, but it might be more of a wet tracker. The good's a bit of a question mark. So for me, it's a big field. It's a strongish field, so I'm not as keen on that. Henline's coming off a strong win as a $2.10 favourite. Pisces has been in good races in Sydney, tough runs, but always close up. It could be good, I'm just not sure. The bottom weights I'm not enthused about. Omen Yala I was till it got scratched. Regal Lover, I like this lightweight, barrier 6. It's just had the one run, ran a good second. And Stay Silent, big odds, currently 40-1, but good trial and then a good sort of first up hit out, and it's got a claim kilo and a half. So that each way, especially for the place, is probably going to be something in this. And then Suntora as a first starter, I think is good value. So won't be going Sneaky Sunrise. It'll be a Quinella and trifecta around Regal Lover, Henline, Stay Silent, Suntora. And for an each way bet with the bonus bet back promotion, we're going to go Regal Lover, and then we'll do a place bet on Stay Silent. Race 2, bit of a one to avoid. So many horses just sort of plodding along here, getting up to a few runs in their campaign. Merzan's interesting. It's clearly on the way to better things, but it's got a low win strike rate, and it's just not a race that I'd really want to have a lot going in. I don't know how this is going to play out. Lionel's still adjusting to Australia. A lot of sort of battlers, I would say. Aberfeldy, Boy, decent second fave. Port Guillaume, interesting. It made up massive ground at the Bull. I bet on it that day when it ran second to Chains of Honour. Interesting how it goes today, not over a hurdle. A lot of horses trying to find form. So I'm not that sold on Merzan, but at the 380, that's not bad value. I'll probably lean towards Aberfeldy just as our default bonus bet back selection, but for me, race to avoid. So I like Craig. Funny name for a horse, but not at $1.60. I just think that's too short given it's a decent race and it's rising in class. I like Methusalem at the 20-1, just because now it gets back on a dry track and it's had so many wet runs lately that have sort of all been flops, but its previous form was good. So I think that that's value. Race shape-wise, this will be interesting. I think that Rise at Dawn will lead. And with only 9 runners, it might get a really good run and it might be hard to run down, especially with the claim. So I'd be expecting that to go forward. I would say interesting race, a little bit of value, not like a super strong betting race, but my default option, I mean, it makes sense to go Craig for bonus back. I'll probably go Rise at Dawn just because of the race shape pattern, and I'll have a each way bet on Methusalem to see how that goes. Apache Song's an interesting runner. Some well-beaten runs in group grade, comes back to this, has the 2 kilo claim. Yeah, so it'll be interesting whether Rise at Dawn can lead, can kick away, how well Craig goes. I still think that Methusalem is some good value, especially for the place. For your bonus bet back sort of default bet, it makes sense to do Craig. I'll probably do Rise at Dawn. Yeah, so this one's interesting. It's a small field. A lot of them are mixing form. Hard to see any strong form lines. Even interesting who's going to even start favourite, whether it'll be B or Bay or Electric Impulse. You don't usually, with Electric Impulse, you don't usually see horses that can lead but can also sit last. And I'll be interested to see what they do from barrier 8 tomorrow. I don't believe I'm saying this, but Jenny Jerome is a horse that I really would struggle to say, okay, today's the day for it. It might actually be tomorrow. This is a pretty suitable field. Just got a feeling that maybe that's a decent bet from barrier 4. I like Subliminal. I mean, it's hard not to like the form, but usually I would probably say, okay, it's had 3 wins in a row. It's not going to win again. I do find that horses that win 2 in a row often can go on to 3. And in his case, he's won 3 and he might go on to 4. So barrier 10 has got the 3 kilo claim. So I think that Subliminal each way, more for a place though. Jenny Jerome each way, and then Aquinella as well. That'll be my go. I'm not super keen on either of the favourites. I'm just happy to sort of see what happens there. Yeah, so race 5's interesting. Veloce Caro is going to go back. It's going to need to get a clean run through the field. From barrier 3, it'll be interesting where it sits. I doubt they're going to break into 2 groups in this race, but even still, it might get a checkered run through if it's got horses in front. Extremely lucky. It's probably, like the odds indicate, like it's a second favourite, but they're pretty close. So I think that you can make a case for either for your bonus bet back sort of default bet. I do like Senegalia and Inundation at around that 20-1 mark. I'll be putting all those 4 horses, so Veloce Caro, extremely lucky, Senegalia, Inundation, in Quinellas and Trifectas. Inundation for the place, to me, looks good. But it's not a race where I'm thinking that it's a huge go. So race 6, the David Burke over 1,600 metres. I don't really like this as a betting race. King of the Castle is an interesting favourite. It's not really a prolific winner, and it'll be interesting how it goes in Melbourne. I think First Accused is decent value, a horse that's run well in the past. For some reason, I think it's going to like Flemington. It's not, to me, it's not a race I want to be super involved in. Lounge Bar Ruby's probably building towards something. I don't know if it'll be today. Windstorm, good horse, good barrier. I'll be playing on those two, like in the previous race where it was numbers 7 and 8. I'll be playing on First Accused and Windstorm. So for me, for your default bonus bet back, probably go Windstorm at those odds and then do an each way bet on First Accused. And then a trifecta where you do a roving banker, First Accused and Windstorm, rotate a few others around it. It is an interesting race. How's Munamek going to go? King Magnus often bobs up, especially with the claim. So interesting. So race 7 is an interesting race. I like that it's a big field. Rheinberg was the favourite until it was scratched. It wasn't a favourite I was that enthused on. 5 wins out of 15 is a good strike rate, but barrier 17, on-pace horse. To me, it was just, especially over the 1,400 metres, if it was going to go to the lead and do too much work. So now that it's out, it's a moot point anyway. But general firepower, maybe. I mean, it won its last start well by 4 lengths. But I mean, 3 starts ago, it almost ran last, lost by 8. So I don't know about that. I'm really big on Le Ferrari. I think all its runs have been good. Didn't run well last start, but I think it's a horse that probably will bounce back, and it's already come in. I know it's probably mostly due to the scratching, but it's into 650 now. I do like that. I also like To Bay Shore and What a Deal. And an unwritten rule with Quinellas and trifectas. If you like 3 horses, in this case 5, 7 and 8, and they're all similar numbers, you've got to take that horse in between. So I would throw in Mr. Mojo Rising just for purely the luck of it, 5, 6, 7, 8, Quinellas and trifectas. Interesting Buoyancy, 50 to 1 at the moment, 125 to 1 on the tote. Was a bit of a top liner in New Zealand, and then the form's gone bad. Now it's here, ridden by Patrick Baloney, barrier 15. I'll be very interested to see what that dishes up tomorrow. Other ones, I mean, Kettle Hill went through that period where it was a favourite and it kept losing, and Tijuana often bobs up. So a lot of sort of what ifs. Brung King's a horse I like normally, not as enthused tomorrow. Georgie Get Mad, again, interesting. What's it going to do? I quite keen on Le Ferrari, and as mentioned, Quinellas and trifectas 5, 6, 7 and 8. I'm a sucker for an open race, and this is a very, very good one. And then also, down the bottom, Rogue Rocker, especially with the 3 kilo claim, barrier 2, good horse. So let's put him in as well. We'll do 5, 6, 7, 8, 17, Quinellas and trifectas. So onto race 8, the Brian Beattie handicap over 2,000 metres. This is a great race. This is super, super interesting. Eliud from New Zealand, leader. It's won its last 2 races by big margins. It's coming over here, barrier 15, Blake Shin. It's going to be very, very interesting that this horse is going to go to the lead, how long it can hold on for. Currently, 3 equal favourites, all at $5.50. I'm not going to bet on Eliud. I'm just going to sort of more watch. I think Steel Run is going to be a good horse, and in some bizarre way, I think that the 550 is sort of value, even though it's from a wide barrier 16. So I'm keen on Motor Race. Good recent trial win. I just have a feeling that tomorrow that this is going to suit it. Aztec State beat home Steel Run a few starts back, but then now it's carrying 3.5 kilos more. So interesting that one's 850 and one's 550, but you can see the reasons why. I do like Motor Race, Zambezi Khan as well. I think there's a lot of value depending on what your. I think there's a lot of value depending on what you pick. My Xanadu, $16 to $15. I think there's a lot of value depending on what you pick. My Xanadu, $15. Gifted Game of 40s. Rezone 40s. Mick Price horse that looks like it's on the way to bigger and better things. Boga Legend as well. Zambezi can't. It's really open, so there's not something that I would say is a huge go at short odds. For me, I'll be doing trifectas, and I'll be do like a roving banker with Motor Ace and Steel Run, and then for my other selections I'll rotate through Zambezi Khan, Gifted Gamer, My Xanadu, Rezone, Aztec State as well, and then another one with Motor Ace and Zambezi Khan, and then on screen, as you'll see, rotate through those other runners. And then I'll do Quinellas with this like a big box Quinella with the same horses. It's a pretty interesting one. Really just keen to see how Eliud's going to go, what tactics they'll use, whether Aztec State's going to round the field and win, how Steel Run's going to go. There's no bonus back in this race on the tab, but if you're doing it on Sportsbet and you're picking something for a one-off bonus bet back second or third, I'd be looking at Steel Run. Motor Ace each way, more for a place. Yeah, so what to do here? I'll be doing a big box Quinella, Motor Ace, Zambezi Khan, Steel Run, Gifted Gamer, My Xanadu, Rezone. Actually, we'll throw in Boga Legend, so 7 horses. And then for trifectas, I'll do 2. I'll do a roving banker, one with Motor Ace and Zambezi Khan as the roving bankers, and then the other horses I mentioned as the other selections. And then another one with Motor Ace and Steel Run, and then again the other horses as mentioned to filter through. I think Rezone's on the way to bigger and better things, just the way that it's building up its form. So yeah, very interesting race. Let's see. All right, so race 9. Again, this is a race I like. Very interesting. Down the straight, 1,100 metres. Marble 9, great name for a horse. Love this. Black Cloud is favourite. Very good form, yes. I don't know about tomorrow. Unknown down the straight, hasn't won on a good track. I just think there's too many question marks. British Angel's going to run on. Oak Hill, yes, I like the form. 5-1 makes sense. By this stage, it will be important to see how the straight's playing, whether you're going to bet on leaders or run on horses. I am quite keen on Lynx. I think that this is a good horse, a good, solid, tough horse going places. So I'll be centering bets around him. I like horses in general that don't lose by much, where they might run 4th by under a length and they might run 3rd by under a length. He sort of fits that profile, so I like him, very consistent. I think as well, Walenda, Prince Zero, they sort of fall into that possibility category at good odds. And I think Indaza at 40-1 is good value. So for me, I'm gonna go against the Black Cloud. I'll see if it wins, that's fine. But I'll do a box Quinella, Lynx, Marble 9, Indaza. Box Quinella, Lynx, Marble 9, Indaza. Box Trifecta, Lynx, Marble 9, Indaza. Then throw in Prince Zero and Walenda for a small amount. Low percentage, low flexi. And then maybe also a roving banker trifecta, Lynx with Marble 9 as roving bankers, and then rove with the field, or even the field without the favourites, and just try and go for a big payout. In terms of a quaddie, I'll probably lean towards field in the first leg, leave out King of the Castle, because if it wins, it's just another leg where a favourite's going to win and the quaddie's going to be diluted in payouts. So I'd probably go field minus the favourite. Second leg, I'd stick to Le Ferrari, to Bayshore, and Rogue Rocker. Third leg, I'd stick to, let's say, Motor Ace, Steel Run, and one more, maybe Aztec State. And then the last, stick to Lynx, Marble 9, and then Indaza, because we want to have that 40-1 going. So that would be quaddie. So, Ipswich. The racing card's up on screen. The races that I'm quite interested in are races 1, 3, 8, and 9. All right, race 1, Ipswich, 1,100 metres. I don't know about Payline. I think at that $3.50, he's a little bit too short. I know he's going to be up on the speed. From that wide gate, he's going to have Flag Hall for company, probably challenging for the lead. They might burn each other out a bit too much. Fire Lane's interesting, back on a drier track. Anything out of Hellbent, I'm sort of always interested to see how they go. And also, I See You Coming 12 to 1, I'm quite keen on Terry Golan. I think value-wise, Immortality at 40 to 1. I like the draw, I like the form. I think that he's going to run really well. I do like Party Spirit. She's my number one pick. So I'll do that for the bonus bet back. And then Quinellas with I See You Coming. I really also like low draw, Terry Golan, good form, and Immortality. So those three in a Quinella. I mean, it'll be interesting from the favourites' perspective whether how well Paylon goes. Flying Mickey also has great form. So that's race 1. Race 2, complete raffle. Chassain, 2 wins from 14 runs. That's hard to get enthused on now, taking 290 today. I know it's a weaker race, and I know that a lot of these horses are sort of trying to find form, but one of those wins was at Gatton. It could be a horse that sort of is always running on and always looks like it's going to win. I wouldn't take the odds. In terms of having a bet for a bonus bet back, it's an obvious, Chassain's still an obvious one to go for. It probably will run top 3, quite certain. Right Way is interesting. Number 1, $4. 1 by 8 on a Toowoomba track where the visibility was almost 0, where it went out ahead and just stayed out ahead and kept on accelerating. Interesting to see how that's going to go. Disputed River at 11 to 1 maybe gets the dry ground that it wants. Interesting race to watch. But as mentioned, you could go Chassain for that standard bet. I'll sort of just be more watching this one. Ipswich race 3. Favourites Tenzing. I think it'll go well, but I'm just at the 440. I think it's a pretty even open race, so I'm not super keen to take that. I think Cocoa Brew Express from Barrier 1, I think is good value at 12s. Madame Odette is coming down in class from better races. I know that it was sort of mixing its form a bit, but I do think that's probably the best value runner, especially up at this distance. And I think Blazing Boots is quite a capable horse and will run well. So for me, I'll be doing a Quinella for 7, 10, 12, Cocoa Brew Express, Madame Odette, Blazing Boots. My default bet for the bonus bet back would be Madame Odette. And then I'll just be interested to see how Tenzing goes and some of those other outsiders. Magic Conqueror usually runs well as an outsider. Had a big win last start at big odds. Also, Tavistown likes to lead. So for me, Quinella 7, 10, 12. Default bet, Madame Odette. Going to jump to race 7, the Ipswich Cup. I think this is so open. I mean, it's such an open race. I don't think it's a great betting proposition. Luncey's probably is the class runner, but at 370, will I take it? I think a lot of horses will be set for this and coming off uninspiring runs are going to improve. There's nothing I can really get that excited about. I'll be interested how Brookhaven runs. I'll be interested how Luncey's runs, but your Zoom-ons, your Desert Icon, I mean, 5 or 10 starts ago, that was leading and winning quite well. What I would say is it's a great race to take the field in a quaddie, race 7. Race 8 I can get excited about. I'm really keen on Fancify. Love the name, love the form as well. The horse just below it, Lost in Transit, so 12 and 14. Also number 9, At Wits End. Didn't run well last start, but before that the form was great. I think that can easily bounce back at 18 to 1. Watergoss the favourite. I just don't think that's that great value at $2.30. Petronius is a horse I like. I don't know if tomorrow's the day. And Blazer Trail, first up from Barrier 6, looks great. So for me, race 8, Quinella 3, Blazer Trail, 9, At Wits End, 12, Lost in Transit, 14, Fancify. I'll do the same for a trifecta. And in terms of standout runner, it would be Fancify. So for doing there's no bonus bet back from the tab or sports bet on that race, but I'll probably have something each way on Fancify. All right, Ipswich race 9. Midnight Tokyo is the favourite at 550. I don't know if it does dry out to a good track, how he's going to go. If it's slow, I'm sort of more keen on him. Eagle's Nest, great name. Eagle Nest, great name. I'm keen on Party for 2. I've always liked this horse. I think tomorrow, I think it could be the right time for it. I am going to do that as a roving banker. So trifecta, roving banker, 11, Party for 2. And then I like some of the horses down the order. So 15, Blue Spinel, 16, Junquera, 17, Crazy Train, 18, Burning Bell, 20, All Stashed Up. And since I've taken all those in sequence and have left out the 19, I'll put Centre Bounce in as well. So basically 11, Party for 2 as a roving banker. And then 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 is the other selections to fill out that trifecta. I'll do the same for a Quinella with all those 7 horses. And then I'll just be interested to see, I mean, Bezique has got a good chance. Midnight in Tokyo, interesting to see how it goes. But for me, party of 2. So round week race 8, Sportsbet have got the bonus bet back for second to last. So guaranteed. So very open. Even something like Mirror Vision coming off 0-0-0, crazily enough, could do something. For me, probably the logical tip is Straight Acer, barrier 4, $6.50. Tamerlane, I think, is actually quite a decent favourite at $4.80. It's a lot of weight, and then it's not like excellent odds. If I knew that the track was going to be dry, I would go for Felix Majestic. Good horse, often wins at big odds. And then my other one would be Diamond Diesel. So I'm expecting it to be a slow track, so I will stick with Straight Acer as a pick for that, and then knowing that we're going to get bonus bets back, which we can use next week, it makes it a perfectly logical choice. Okay, so looking at AFL for the weekend, Carlton Geelong, interesting. I was at this game last time, and it was incredible how whenever the ball was in doubt, Carlton would always seem to get it, would win the disputed contests, but Geelong just kept going further in front. They were just so efficient with their 450 entries. So Geelong is sort of back to full strength now. They do tend to play the MCG well. Carlton are a bit irresistible at the moment, which as an Essendon supporter, it pains me to say that. But they're just playing so well. So you could sort of see the value in both of them depending on what perspective you're coming from. And then in a strange way, I don't know if there's value either way. Like Geelong could get a bit blown away, and then the 230's not really there. And then the $1.60 with Carlton, it's a team they've sort of struggled against, and you could say, okay, that's not really value. In saying that, I just think Carlton are hitting top stride at the moment. I wouldn't touch the margins. I really don't know how it's going to... I've rolled over various scenarios in my head of whether Carlton are going to win by a big margin, Geelong win by a big margin, whether it be close. Too difficult. I'd sort of lean towards Carlton, but it'll be interesting because it's another, like so many matches of these teams in this cluster from 2nd to 10th, it's going to shape the 8 and the top 4. It's just fascinating. So leaning towards Carlton. Port Brisbane is so line ball, so season defining. The start of the week, my tipping default was Port for no real reason other than that Brisbane have let me down a lot lately. And they were still pretty shaky against St Kilda last week. I was sort of expecting that they'd win by 60 points and it would just be easy, but it was strangely not. So I think the default is just to keep imagining that they're going to get back to that form of last year, but they are missing key personnel that we keep forgetting about. They are going over to that hostile Port cauldron of an environment. So it's really hard to know. Port were they sort of were out of that game after quarter time against the Giants. The Giants got on top and Port was sort of shut out of it to a degree. So that doesn't leave me with a lot of belief. But then Brisbane, I don't know how much I'm just wanting to believe that they're going to bounce back and rise to new heights. So I'll be tipping Brisbane for some strange cosmic reason, but it's sort of a game of no confidence in a way. Let's see. GWS versus Sydney. GWS versus Sydney. These Battle of the Bridges can be topsy-turvy. There was that period where GWS were winning by a few points. There was a period where GWS were winning by a few points. For Sydney, it's a bit of a danger now. Are they going to go into the finals having won too many games and then sort of the pressure ratchets up on them too quickly? Lately, they've been close to losing. The wire will snap eventually. We don't know when. Could be this week. $1.30, $1.40 for Sydney. It sounds like value, but in these derby sort of scenarios, I don't want to be involved. So I'm just going to watch with interest. Melbourne, North Melbourne. What can you say? The D's have just been letting us down left, right and centre lately, especially in Alice Springs. I really didn't see that coming. I still think maybe COVID had gone through the group. I don't know. It was just odd. And Freo was such a surprise packet. Collingwood, again, it was like a lot of inside 50s for no reward. Just got beaten by an MCG specialist team, a very good team. North would have to be mentally scarred from last week. Although in saying that, I thought the same thing about Hawthorn after they squandered that 40 or so point lead against Port and then the next week came out and beat Brisbane at Marvel Stadium. So You don't know, but I mean, surely I'm thinking surely that 54-point squandering would have to count against them. And they don't play as well at the MCG as at Marvel. So Melbourne are, despite looking doomed and having an inefficient forward line and no Petrarca, which they'll need time to adjust to, they're still strong favourites. Would I take them at that $1.10, $1.20? No. Would I bet on North? No. It's a game just to watch and see what happens, I think. Essendon versus West Coast. So for all the Essendon supporters like me who are thinking we're a lock for the finals, who think we're still in the running for top 4, this looks like a cakewalk. Looks like we're going to come back from the bye fresh to Marvel, where we normally play really well. Peter Wright will probably kick 3 to 5 goals and it'll be an easy win. West Coast have Oscar Allen back. We beat them by a goal last time. I still like them. I think that we're pretty safe at Marvel. So yeah, at that price, I think Essendon are good at that $1.30. Off the bye, it can be tricky, but I think we'll be a bit renewed. And so I think, yeah, Peter Wright to kick 3 to 5 goals, return to the happy hunting ground of Marvel. Yeah, I'm pretty good with Essendon. Freo versus Gold Coast. Freo have been all season been a bit of a tipping, so up and down. Such a nightmare for tipping. I think I've got them wrong 70% of the time. I think at $1.40 at home against the Suns without Ben King, I think that's something I can get around. The Suns off a bye could be good or bad, but I still like Freo at home. I just think there's something safe about that. So in the wash up from those 6 games with the $20, what would I do? I'm thinking Carlton. I'm thinking Essendon with a minus 29.5 start, and then Freo at home. So Carlton around $1.60. Essendon are also around that $1.60, giving up a 5-goal head start. Freo are sort of similar, so $20 on that. It'll be posted in the feed. The way that we're going to do it is we're going to post our bets at the end of the show, what we're going to do with our $50 for racing, what we're going to do with our $20 for AFL. But then on the Saturday, we'll do an update, just an update on how we think the track's playing and whether there's any sort of question marks over our selections, or sort of maybe treat this with less confidence, maybe treat with more. As always, exercise your own perspective on things. Never listen to other people. Even though this is a show giving guidance, it's sort of meant to encourage you to think critically about what you're betting on and why. So always go with what you think yourself, but use this as a bit of a springboard, and also be accountable with the amount that you're betting to have some fun with the decisions that you're making. So we've covered Flemington, Ipswich, Rosehill Race 8 and the AFL. These are our bets up on screen. This is what we're going to do with the $50 of racing and $20 of AFL bets. And we'll post an update on our Instagram channel if there's any sort of track patterns we're seeing, or if there's any horses that we suddenly think due to the weather or anything else that we think jump off. But this is what we'll do for the week. As always, bet a small amount you're happy to lose. Have a lot of fun. We'll be back next week to see how we've gone. And best of luck for your betting this week. Always try and turn the odds to your favour.